So good morning again. Today we're looking at learning outcome 4, which is be able to plan and draft a piece of research. Now today what we're going to talk about is how a research what sort of research topics might be good for you, so you can discuss that today. We'll talk about exactly what goes into a research project and how it should be laid out. So the following PowerPoint that I'll show you will have a whole load of different slides in it, and it goes through step by step what the best approach is to plan your research and also to create it. Then I'll show you some sample research projects just as an idea of how they're laid out and what the best way to do them is. So learning outcome 4 covers 4.1, which is create a plan for research on a chosen topic in health and social care. 4.2, draft a piece of research work using appropriate reference techniques. And then 4M1, use your own review and feedback from your tutor to improve your draft work. Let's go there. Now with this, when we look at this section, when you're doing this on the assignment, you're actually going to need to create a piece of research. So you're going to choose a topic, you're going to research it, and then you're going to present that within your work. You're going to start off with 4.1, which will cover you creating the plan, so telling me what the title is and how you're going to do it. 4.2 is you actually making the research, so presenting it in there. And then these two will actually help you answer learning outcome AC 5.1, because you'll use the same piece of work and you'll make it into a professional standard. So they do sort of sway onto each other. So this is to recap of what we've done over the other past few days. So for learning outcome 1, we looked at your own skills. So you were looking at your strengths, your weaknesses, you were setting targets, and you were creating a personal development plan. Learning outcome 2, we looked at primary and secondary research processes, what they are and what sort of types of resources you use. Then we looked at note-taking techniques yesterday, and today is research plan. So when you're actually looking to create a research, there are some aims and objectives that you need to choose, that you need to look at. Now, there are some good ones that you can choose. You've got a choice here, and then there's some that you should really avoid. So when you're looking to create a research project, choose verbs which will allow you to achieve your aim. So either choose analyze, evaluate, assess, determine, and compare and contrast. Now, when we talk about verbs, do you know when we see these questions here? When we've got a type of a question that we're doing. So these are our verbs at the beginning. So assess is telling us what we're doing, or describe, or outline. So it's the word at the beginning of your project that will, or the word that you use to actually decide what you're going to be doing. So are you going to analyze childhood obesity? Are you going to evaluate the factors that go into, dementia? What sort of thing? Are you going to assess the pros and cons of a certain thing? So these are the good ones to look at. Avoid discuss and describe, because they don't really give you much leeway. They don't really give you much to write about, to be honest. You probably end up writing a little bit. You'll be describing a certain thing and then that's it. It's not really a research project then. So aims and objectives that you can use. So these are some examples. So your aim might be to determine whether the UK should remain a member of the European Union. So remember, today we're just looking at different topics that maybe we might want to research. Now, you don't have to choose these. These are just examples of the type of style you might want to use. So our aim was to determine whether the UK should remain a member of the European Union. And then the objectives within your aim are to review the literature on the EU, to evaluate the costs and benefits of the EU membership, to conduct primary research into views on the EU membership. So remember we talked about how to create a questionnaire or a survey that goes into primary research, and then to make recommendations about the future of the UK membership of the EU. Now, when you're deciding on a research project, choose something that you're familiar with. So it can be healthcare related, and we'll go over a number of topics. I'll suggest a few, and then you can decide, or you can add your own into it. I've had some students give me research topics on Martin Luther King. So it really depends. It's your research project. You decide what you're going to do it on. These are just examples. So then you might have another example. So the aim of this example is to research a project on recruitment practices at Calderdale Social Services. So the aim of this is to evaluate the impact that the Criminal Records Bureau Disclosure Service, so the DBS, has had on the recruitment team and their practices at Calderdale Social Services. So you've got to determine how problems experienced by the CRB during the introduction of the disclosure service have affected the recruitment team and the work at the Calderdale Social Services. So this is just looking at how, when we work, so anybody that is working closely with vulnerable people or young children, we all have to go through a CRB check, don't we, before we can actually start working, to make sure that we've got a clear history and that there's nothing in our records that will show that we're a risk towards certain people. So this is looking at how those checks have affected the recruitment services for Calderdale Social Services. So this is just another example. So the example objectives of this would be to review and critically analyze the literature concerning CRB, so recruitment and selection, and the relevant legislations. So what legislations will go into this? Will there be things like a Human Rights Equality Act? Is there anything that's exempt from here because of you having to work with vulnerable people and to protect their safety as well? The second objective is to devise and implement appropriate research methods to appraise the disclosure service and determine its effects on the recruitment team at CSS, so Calderdale Social Services. Third objective is to examine problems experienced by the CRB and evaluate their impact on recruitment at CSS. And then the fourth objective is to generate recommendations for the development of future research concerning the CRB and recruitment. Now, for example, if we were doing this, if we were looking at doing this as a research project, first you put down what your aim is and you say, I'm going to be researching, and then you put your title down. Then you're going to say, this is the aim of my research, and I will be determining the problems that have been experienced by the CRB. So you put down this type of information. And then you'd go through, these would be each of the questions that you would be researching. You're going to go on the internet, or you're going to look at books, and you're going to look at videos, and you're going to actually find information to regard each of these sections so that you can get answers for them. And you can say, I have reviewed and critically analysed the literature concerning the CRB, and I have found, and then you would continue on and tell us what your findings were. So you'd have, this would be the structure. You'd have series of information for each of these points, for each of these objectives. And then obviously at the end you'd have a conclusion. So are you understanding everything that I'm saying so far? Is that okay? Is there any questions?
I don't have any question.
Okay.
Thank you.
So when we're looking at our research project, we're going to look at different techniques for generating and refining our ideas. So we're going to look at rational thinking and creative thinking. So rational thinking, so look at your own strengths and your own interests. Now for me, if I'm making a research project, and for example, if I just randomly decide to do it on Tesla, one of those fancy cars that my son's always telling me about. I have no interest in Tesla. I really don't have interest in any cars. I'm happy with my little Honda. I'm happy going A to B. I look at a nice looking car, I'll appreciate it, but that's about it. I don't know much about the makes. I can probably identify Vauxhall from Peugeot, Honda from Mercedes, and just from their logos. But I have no other interest besides that. I don't care about engine sizes. I don't really care about the interiors of cars or if they've got cameras in them or the whatnot. You can probably tell I really have no interest in cars besides it getting me from point A to point B. Now, if I decide that I'm going to start doing a research project on a Tesla, a fancy car, I'm going to have to start off by scratch. I've never really had any interest in them. I've never really thought about them. So that wouldn't be the best thing for me to do because I already have no knowledge of them. So when you're looking at doing a research project, research something that you already know something about. Use your own strengths, use your own interests. Now, if I was to start looking into researching a project on how English is developed in young children, how they learn, phonics abilities, I'd be fantastic at that because it's something that I'm really good at. It's something that I've done for a number of years, and I've got a very keen interest in that area. So that for me would be a very good project to partake because I already have a very good amount of idea of exactly what it is. So look at your own strengths and look at your own interests when you're deciding on a project. So look at past project titles. So we'll look at some titles in a moment. You can also go on the internet and search things that might have already been researched that you might just need to say, oh, I can use this information, but I'll put a little bit extra information myself as well. Discuss it. So see, is this possible for you to put this into a discussion? Search for the information, search the literature. So if I was to do, for example, about asthma and its causes and its treatments, I might type in on the search bar, what causes asthma? What are the treatments for asthma? How many people in the UK have asthma? So I've already got a lot of information that will just pop up. And I know that I will because it's something that's widely been researched already. And then also scan the media. So look at Facebook, look at Instagram, see if there's any posts that you can see. Almost every company is on Instagram or Facebook now. Even the schools are on Facebook. So look at the media. So that's for your national thinking. For your creative thinking, just keep a notebook next to you. Put your little ideas in there. Look at your own preferences. So scroll through. So if you're thinking about doing something within the healthcare, which is a good idea, have a quick scroll through and type in different things about obesity, about diabetes, about asthma, about COVID-19. So type in a few topics, see what's already there, and then also just see what you prefer the most. So scroll through them, see, oh, I actually prefer the effect of COVID-19 on NHS. I'm going to do something about that. Is it relevant to you? Make sure that. And brainstorm. So jot a few ideas down. Put a topic into the middle, like asthma, and then have little arrows coming off it and add little ideas of what you're going to be talking about. So keep it nice and creative, but jot everything down. So when you're looking at a good topic, you're going to consider the following points now. You're going to look at the data availability, the access to data, and what time you've got available, and we've got a few more points coming soon. So you're going to consider what data there actually is. So there might be a lot or there might be a little, but you need to make sure that there's enough data there that you can use and you can add to using your own primary research methods, or you can show us how you would add to that. So consider your access to the data. Do you have to go to the library and get books? Can you just go onto the internet? Are there any YouTube videos available? So good topics have a lot of data available across the internet, across newspapers and libraries. Now, to be honest, if you type anything on the search bar, something will come up. A lot of topics will come up. Consider how much time you've got available. So even if you've got a lot of enthusiasm and you know that you want to create a particular research project, make sure that it is actually doable. Make sure you can actually do it. So a good topic is one clearly delimited and can be done in the time limited that you already have. So if you've only got a week to do something, or if you know I'm busy, I'm working full time, I only have 2 hours to research, and then I want to spend 3 hours on my assignment, make sure you can get your research done in those 2 hours. So it's a good idea to sometimes use topics that have already been researched, and then you can just sort of tweak it and add more information into it. That is the best way. So consider the availability of your resources. So some particular softwares or published materials or data sets might be needed. So if you need something extra for your laptop, then don't use it. There's no point in you going out and spending money or doing a whole lot of things that you don't necessarily need to do. So if they're not readily available, it's unnecessary. You're going to put time constraints on, you're going to put financial constraints on yourself. So just use the things that are available there for you. So a good topic tends to require few resources and the information should be readily available to you. Now, when we're saying this, it's like if I go in and I put a particular topic or a particular sentence into the search bar, you should in fact have a lot of data that comes already readily available. You should have a number of images that are available for you, a number of research. So those are always good ones to go for. So consider your own capabilities and your skills. So you might want to look at statistical techniques or, try and make Excel charts or graphs and things on them. But make sure that you can actually do something that you're capable of doing. There's no point in sitting down and spending 45 minutes creating a table chart when necessarily you could just put that information into a written form, or you can find an image that might represent the same information for you within a few minutes. So look at the symmetry of the potential research outcomes. So it's good to get positive data, in regards to your topic, but it's also good to find out negative results as well. So always try and find the plus points and the bad points, because there's nothing in the world that is going to be perfect. So even if you're looking at, say, the treatment for asthma, what are the bad points on this? Now, my youngest nephew, he suffers from asthma. Now, he's 6 years old. He has an inhaler, one of those that you can put over your nose, and his mum can put the puffs through that tube. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that's called, I've forgotten. Now, the other day, she went to the pharmacy, and she got this little handheld, a circular, like a travel-sized inhaler. It's one that has powder in it, but he has to really suck hard on that, and he's not getting the medication isn't coming in because he doesn't know how to pull it in hard. So that's a negative point for young children. These type of devices don't work because he's not got that lung strength to be able to pull it in. He's used to having it done automatically for him. So it's a plus point for somebody who might be traveling a lot and needs something accessible. But for a young child, that's a bad point. So look at the good and the bad. And then we're going to look at some example research areas. Now, if you go on to Moodle, let me show you exactly where this is actually. Let's scroll back. No, it's logged me out. Just one moment, please. Now, under the academic research skills unit, scroll down to where it says Learning Outcome 4. This is the PowerPoint that we're using. And then just click on the LO4 and LO5 additional handouts. Now, this comes up with a folder that has been created, and it has got a load of different research projects in here. So it's got some projects that are related to businesses. It's got some that are related to various topics. So we've got one that's about Emirates. So this is where I'm getting this information from. So you've got access to all of these proposals as well for you to look at. Now, let's have a look at one of the proposals. Now, this proposal, this research project, is about the analysis of the marketing environment along with identifying opportunities and threats in Saudi Arabia. So they're analysing the market environment, and they're looking at any opportunities and threats that might come towards the marketing environment of Saudi Arabia. So they start off with an introduction, tell us about what Saudi Arabia is, what sort of position they've got in the global market. And remember, this is just for this is like a businessy style one. So you've got your introduction, and then you've got your aims of your research. So you put down what is your aim, and then you put down your objectives of your research. So you're telling us, like we looked at those objectives earlier, list them down here. And then your literature review is you actually carrying out the research. So you're going to tell us what you're going to do, look at all. So you write literature review, you're going to look at all the books, journals, websites, and so on. Methodology, how it's going to be done. Sample size. So what sort of samples are you doing? 50 questionnaires, are you doing 100? This person's only did 25 questionnaires, so it's a small sample size. Then with these, how you're going to analyze your data, then your conclusion and your recommendation. And then you might want to go into future research, and then you put down your bibliography. And that's it. So you see, it's not as long-winded as it seems to be. It's a nice structure, so you can always go and have a look at this and see, okay, this is a nice structure. I can follow the same type of research here. Then we have another proposal. So this is on the development of sport and its effect on the economy of Qatar. And again, same sort of way, same sort of layout again. But this one's got extra information about primary data and secondary data. And then it just puts a conclusion. And then obviously at the end, you're referencing your work. And then one last thing I want to show you. This is a good example of a structure. And this one is very long, so you do not need to have your research project this long. Aim for 1 to 2 pages on there. So this is 36 pages. This has gone into a lot of detail, as you can see. So it's going into what all these different objectives are, what methodology is, what the intention of the study is, and then supporting theory and so on. So this one is extremely detailed. But these are nice things to just have a quick scroll through, just to give you a good idea of what sort of layout this should be. Remember, you can go into here. There's a whole load of different ideas there. Let's go back. So are you both okay with what we've been talking about so far? I'm going to either take that as fantastic, or you've both fallen asleep because I'm being boring.
No, you're not bored. It's fine.
Fantastic. So when we're looking at our research, so you're going to look at some questions for this, and these are the possible questions that you can look at. So what is the history of the topic? Has anyone else done research on the topic? If they have, that's fantastic, because then you've got a lot of your research has already been done for you, and you can use a lot of the same information and then also update it. So if they have done it, how did they do it? Did they do it using the internet? Did they do it traditionally where they visited libraries and researched books? Or did they do questionnaires or interviews? What research questions did they ask? So if you read through that research project, you'll find out the answers will be there. What were their conclusions? So what did they find out? What kind of arguments are there about the topic? So is there plus, is there pros, is there cons? What's the concept? So what sort of concept and theories have been used on the topic, and what research methods and data collection tools did they use? So you're going to identify your research questions. You're going to make the topic researchable. So make sure that you've put a good question in or a good topic in that you know there will be a lot of information about. So it's your research questions that will actually focus what you research. They're going to put the drive into your work. So if you've not got a good research question, you're going to be hard pressed to find something that will work for you. You're going to be working extremely harder than you really should need to. So make sure if it's something that you can't find much information on, change your question. Keep the topic the same, change the question and see, oh, okay, I've got a lot more stuff here now. So the purpose of identifying research questions is to formulate or clarify research aims and objectives. So you want to clarify what your aim is, what your objectives are, and you're going to find out the information to match those objectives. So a useful approach is to begin with one general research question, and this normally leads on to several detailed questions. Now, we've all been there when we've typed something into the internet and we're trying to find information, and you find the information that you do, you click on it, and under it are like offshoots or branches of sub-questions or sub-answers where you've got different headings and more information. So it goes into a lot more detail. So you've always got something that follows on from the other. And from your research topic, you should develop focused research questions. So make sure that the question is relevant to actually what you're trying to research. So from your research idea to your research question. So from here, we're just going to talk about what a research idea is and how you can look at the question. So a research idea is a job recruitment via the internet, and a good focused research question is how effective is recruiting for new staff via the internet in comparison with traditional methods. So this, if you type this in, you might not get that much information, but if you were to type this in, you would get a lot of detailed information. Second is the future of trade unions. So change that question into what are the strategies that trade unions should adopt to ensure their future viability? And then third question is advertising and share prices. So if you type that in, you're probably going to get a lot of random information. So if you want to get it focused, you're going to do, how does the running of a TV advertising campaign designed to boost the image of a company affect its share price? So the idea is still there, just that you're focusing the question and making it more researchable, so you know you're going to get a lot of information. It's not going to be random like these research ideas at the top. They're going to actually give you the answer you want with the focus question. So types of research aims is to investigate, inquire, examine, explore, explain, and study. So this is what your research aims are. So you can choose one of these. So you're going to either investigate or explain or examine or study. So I'd say I'm going to study the causes of asthma and its possible treatment plans. So phrasing research questions as research objectives. So phrasing as in you're writing them down in a particular way. So research question is, why have organizations introduced team briefing? And your objective is to identify organizations' objectives for the team briefing schemes. And then second question can be, how can the effectiveness of team briefing schemes be measured? And then your objective is to establish suitable effectiveness criteria for team building schemes. So we're going to create a plan for research on your chosen topic. So first you're going to identify your topic. So here are some topics that you can use. Impact of COVID-19 on businesses. Second one could be opt-out of organ donation. So a rapid evidence review. Understanding nurses' retention and its impact on patient safety. And then outcomes in secondary care and mental health. Or NHS 111 services for children and young people. Now these are some good websites to look at actually. They've got a lot of information and research projects that are already there, so I'd recommend you clicking on first the top and then the bottom. They've got a whole load of ideas. Other ideas you could research in health related, childhood obesity, the effect of diabetes in children, obesity in America or obesity in the UK, whichever country you want to choose, asthma and its causes and treatments, and then the effect of COVID-19 on nurses within the NHS or on the NHS in general. So look at something that you're already familiar with and go from there. Do you have any ideas of what you might research, Athe?
No.
Yeah, you've got a few ideas on here, and then you can just, but whatever you choose, just choose something that you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Tosin, what about you? Have you got an idea of what you might want to research?
No, not at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, isn't it? Understanding, you're like, yeah. But believe me, this isn't as difficult as it sounds. You're not having to give me 36 pages of research. I don't want that. All I want you to do is go away, do a bit of research on a topic that you like, and again, if it's not something healthcare related, that's okay. I would prefer it to be healthcare related, but even if it's like I've had previously where I've had someone researching Martin Luther King, that's still a research project. So choose something you like, and then just give me about 2 pages on it, so it'll be fine.
2 pages?
Yeah, believe me, it's doable.
Okay. I think from one of identifying the topics for research, we can get something from all those ones you've listed out.
Yes, you can use any of these if you want. That's perfectly fine. You can use the ideas I've given you, but really click on here. Go onto the PowerPoint, click on here. It's got some research projects that are already there, so you can use the same ideas and just and it probably 90% of the work has already been done for you.
Okay, that's fine.
So we're going to identify our aims and objectives. So what's your aim of your research? What do you want to find out in your objectives? Tell me what your sample size is. So if you've made 20 questionnaires, say I've created 20 questionnaires, my sample size is 20 people. So where will you collect the data? Are you going to do it over the internet as a survey? Are you going to do it face-to-face where patients come in or family members come in? Who will be the participants? Are they going to be your colleagues or patients or family members? How many people are there? So if you've done 20 questionnaires, so you're only asking 20 people. So just be honest and say, I asked 20 people. And then you're going to look at your secondary research. So this will be your primary research in these little sections here. Let me just highlight that. These will be your primary research. And this section here will be your secondary research here. So you'll probably go on the internet, or you'll get some books, or you look at some YouTube videos, so any of those things. And then identify the method for data collection. Are you doing surveys or interviews? So remember, you don't physically have to carry the surveys or interviews out. If you're going to do a survey, I'm not asking you to go and give people a survey. I'm asking you to just show me what your survey looks like then. So give me a small example of what questions you're going to have in it. So you're going to prepare a questionnaire. This will be included within your 4.2. Prepare a questionnaire for your identified research project. So about 200, 300 words. So it can be little, so it's about 200, 300 words saying it's going to have the title on it and have all the different questions you're going to ask. And then your research should be divided in the following sections. So have an introduction. So a brief introduction to the study. what the aims and objectives are, and what the research significance and rationale is. That just means what significance it's got, how important it is, and why you're doing it. Second section is literature review. So remember, put these headings on. So literature review, so critical review of the academic literature. So go on the internet, put some information down, review it and say whether or not you agree with it, if you think this is good. And then from there. Now here is a draft of a research work. Now this is about depression. So what we've done here, we've put depression down as a dependent variable because depression is always caused by something, there's always something that contributes to it. And we've got 3 points, 3 independent variables that may cause depression. So if you've got all 3 of them together, it might have a higher risk of being depressed, but individually they may have a factor as well. So depression, so stress, sleep disorder, and troubled adolescence. So all of these together might cause depression. And remember, when you're doing your research project, you're welcome to add in images and charts and graphs that have already been created if they're suitable for your project. Then we're going to do the third heading will be choice of research methodology. So are you going to do qualitative or quantitative? Quantitative is like numbers. So you're researching data, numbers, figures, finances. Qualitative is the other, like the information. Are you doing a case study or a survey? Have you used primary data or secondary? So primary is when you start something fresh. So remember, you're creating something that's not been done before. So you're doing interviews, telephone conversations, questionnaires, surveys. Secondary data is stuff that has already been done. So it's data that's already available to you. So internet, YouTube videos, books, magazines, and then how many people that you did, sort of sample sizes. So you've got data collection and analysis. So how are you going to present your data? How are you going to analyze your data? And then tell us what you found out. So you might want to have a paragraph here telling us about what data you find. You might want to have an image to analyze it. And then you're going to tell us exactly what you found out. Then you put down a summary. So tell me exactly what you researched and what your findings were. Tell me what your recommendations are, that if you think that there's other things that can be done or further research that can be done on a topic that is similar to what you've done or an offshoot question. And then reference your work. So make sure that you're putting down your references within your research project. And then this section, so this research project should probably, this section, apart from your questionnaire, so your questionnaire should be around about 200 words, but your research section should be around about 200 to 300 words. So it's not too bad. So just as an overcap, you got your topic, you got your chapter 1, which is your introduction, your aims and your objectives. Chapter 2 is literature review. Chapter 3 is methodology. So you're looking at primary and secondary sources. You're telling me how many people you looked at. You're telling me how you got your data, if you looked at the internet, if you looked at books, if you looked at videos. You're going to include your questionnaire that you make in this section. Then you're going to tell me what you found out and what your recommendation might be. And then finally, you're going to put down a conclusion. So you're going to cap it all off, and then you're going to add references. So it doesn't seem as long-winded when you look at it in this way. So that is for the research plan. And remember, go on to the LO4, LO5 additional handout section and just have a quick look through them. They've got everything, a nice few ideas that are already here that you can use sort of ideas from.